And good afternoon, producer Susan. Warm enough for you?
Yeah, it's 103, the heat index. It's a little toasty today.
So what's the actual temperature?
It's in the 90s, but the
But
heat index is definitely, let's see, what is the temperature here we got today? It's 92 degrees right now.
92 with 103 heat index. All right, well, we're going to join
Yep.
you tomorrow. It's going to be 98 here in New Jersey with, I think, the same heat index. All right, so let's see what we're going to try to talk about today. All right, today's July the 14th. It's the situation Jersey Joe news and perspective you won't hear on TV. We're going to talk quite a lot about socialism this week and the Democratic Socialists of America. You've heard about them, right? DSA?
Yeah.
Right. We're going to start off with a two quotes from Thomas Sowell about socialism, and then we're going to follow up with a big the DSA organization has just released their platform, and we're going to talk at length about their platform and why, if they're successful, it'll probably be the end of the United States as you know it. One of the most outrageous things, well, two outrageous things. There is a state that taxes its own tax. Can you imagine the state imposes a tax and then makes you pay a sales tax on the tax amount? Can you believe that?
That's not how that works.
Well, that's how it worked in one state, and we'll tell you what state that is and how they pulled it off. And the most outrageous thing I've heard a week, we'll tell you about the new fee schedule, um, uh, what it will cost you to apply for a concealed weapon carry permit that's been issued by the sheriff of San Jose, California, and why it discriminates people with lower incomes, particularly minorities. We'll tell you about a new trend by several major retailers who are replacing paper price labels on store shelves with LED displays that can change the price of every item in the store at least once a day. Can you imagine you walk in,
Hmm.
you buy something today and you walk in tomorrow and everything in the stores, the price has been changed on every single item in the store?
That's actually a very popular big box store that I shop at regularly
Okay.
does that.
Well, it's coming. We'll tell you which stores have already adopted it, and it's called dynamic pricing. We'll give you a little more insight into dynamic pricing. You have any friends who are flat Earth believers?
No, I only hang out with intelligent people.
I actually know one or two, and there's a challenge out by one of the country's biggest sporting goods stores that they've issued a challenge to flat Earth believers, and they could become multimillionaires if they can succeed at the challenge. We'll tell you about what the challenge is. We'll tell you about a doctor in Arizona who incorrectly declared a young child to be dead and how the parents found
Mm.
out that their child wasn't dead. Can you imagine what a horrifying mistake is? The doctor
Yeah.
says your child is dead, and then you discover
Mhm.
an hour later that your child wasn't dead.
Yeah, that's
Um,
horrible.
Time permitting, we'll tell you what percentage of the U.S. and global population are pilots and what it would take for you to become one of them. Um, we'll share with you how time permitting, we'll share with you how the price of things like healthcare and college tuition have changed over the past 25 years and how those changes compare to the changes in prices of other everyday items like automobiles, television sets, and refrigerators. Um, and I got to get rid of this thing right here. That's a leftover from last week. And our taxpayer relief shot this week is from Los Angeles, where shop owner gets into a gunfight with three armed robbers, and only one of them survives. All right. By the way, that just goes to show you it pays to practice. Three
Yes.
against one.
Yes.
He lives, and two of them wind up dead right there. All right. Thomas Sowell, and these are two separate quotes, but they kind of go together. He said, "Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it." And he's right. I mean, you look at the history of socialism; it has a 100% failure rate. And he says the strongest argument for socialism is that it sounds good. It sounds great. The strongest argument against socialism is that it doesn't work. But those who live by words instead of results will always have a soft spot in their hearts for socialism because it sounds so good.
Mhm.
Now, this is taken right from their platform. Step one, they want to completely eliminate the existing U.S. Constitution. No Bill of Rights, which means what the Constitution does, it protects the rights of the minority against the will of the majority. Let's say that you're Jewish or you're Muslim or you're Hindu. Some states would say, "Hey, we're going to forbid the practice of your religion in our state." Well, the U.S. Constitution says, "No, you can't do that."
Hmm.
Even we don't care if 99% of the people in your state want to outlaw Buddhism in your state. You can't do that because the Constitution protects the rights of the minority.
Hmm.
Um, hate speech. Well, well, we think that's hate. Well, it's freedom of speech. No, there are limits. Yes, you can't advocate for violence. You can't incite a riot. But in terms of your opinions, well, the left wants to outlaw hate speech. Well, that's hateful. We want to outlaw it. Well, Constitution says no. You can sue people if their speech injures you. You can
Hmm.
sue them, but the government can't outlaw it. They want to eliminate the U.S. Senate. So instead of having a House and a Senate, they want to eliminate the U.S. Senate and the Electoral College, and they want to do away with presidential elections. They want to adopt the European model, like in the UK, where the House of Representatives appoints the Prime Minister. And if they don't like what the job he's doing, they can remove him. So you wouldn't elect a president. You would elect basically you wouldn't have a Senate and a House. You would only have a House. You would elect those representatives, and they would decide who the president of the United States is, and if they didn't like him after 90 days, they could replace him. They would also make the Supreme Court subordinate to the House of Representatives. So it's basically a one-party monopoly in terms of controlling the United States. They want amnesty for all illegal aliens, and they want to open the borders. Yeah, you want to come in. Everybody from every country is welcome in this country. They want to then offer free college and free medical care to every single person in the United States. Um, you don't have to be a citizen to vote in the United States. So if you have, 20, 30, 40 million people coming in from South America or whatever, they can vote. They don't have to be
Yep,
citizens. Oh,
that's
and they
not
want to
great.
nationalize all major industries, oil companies and whatnot, car companies. So my question is, um, if you were the shareholders or board of directors of a company, would you invest in any company in this country? Would you build a new factory if at a moment's notice the government said, "Yeah, we really like that. It's ours now." Would you invest in the company? I mean,
No,
if you ran that company, would you build anything in the United States
no,
if the
no.
government could, at a moment's notice, decide, "Oh, yeah, we like that. We're going to take it." So uh, and let me just play a little clip here. I think this was from Fox News, maybe. And here's what they say about it. And I might have to turn the volume up a little bit here. Here we go.
Yeah. Plan to roll out their brand new platform next week. And we have the details. Let's put it up on the screen, and your jaw's going to drop at the first one here. So, number one, they want to eliminate the U.S. Senate. So, a whole third branch of government, let's just get rid of it. That's number one. Number two, let's just replace the president and the Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by and subordinate to Congress. So, no more equal branches of government. And then third, amnesty for all immigrants. We saw that one coming. And number four, defunding the Department of War. This is real. I mean, this is coming in a matter of days. And these are the candidates that are winning across America.
Well, absolutely. And just real quick on the vetting aspect. Yeah, Graham Platter, the people who brought him into the race only vetted him in 3 days. Vetting typically takes weeks. So Democrats are going to potentially end up in the same position.
And I'm going to end it there. But what's scary, we all know about the three, the three that in New York City, and there was a couple in Colorado. Do you know that nationwide, we've had a couple in Seattle. Nationwide, there are already 250 members of the DSA that are holding political office in this country. Does that scare you? Producer Susan, are you still there?
Yes, I had to turn my volume off because the dog was barking.
Oh,
Yes, it
okay.
does.
How scary is that? There's already
Mhm.
200. I mean, the system of government we have now isn't perfect, somebody once said, but it's better all the West. It's really elegant. You got this check and you got this triumvirate. You got Congress, you got the president, you got the Supreme Court. It's like a three-legged stool, and they keep each other in check. Congress can't, the president can veto stuff, the legislature passes, the Supreme Court can shut down, laws that are not constitutional. And it's really an elegant. Again, there's no such thing as a perfect political system, but ours is better than anything else in the world, and it's elegant. And these people want to go to basically a one-party 50% plus one gets to decide everything, which means the rights of the minority could be trampled. Oh, we want to put a highway through the middle of your house. We're going to take your house. We don't like your religion. We're going to forbid you to practice it. That all goes away. We don't like how you talk. So we're going to make what you say a crime. And if you say something bad about a group we don't like, we'll put you in jail. And that could become law if they abolish, and again, they want to abolish the US Constitution. It's really, really scary. So folks, if your friends don't know what these Democratic Socialists of America are, please, please let them know that they published their platform. That's exactly they're right out, they've said the quiet part out loud. That's exactly what they want to do. All right. Let's talk about the most outrageous thing I've heard all week. Now, you know what a CCW permit is, right? Concealed carry weapon permit.
I have one.
What does it cost you in Pennsylvania to get a CCW?
I think it was like $20,
Okay.
maybe $25.
Okay. And people complain about New Jersey where it's like $150 to get one in New Jersey. Well, the city and county of San Jose, without passing any this didn't come out of the city council. Um, the sheriff of San Jose, I'm sure he did this at the urging of the council. He said, we have the right to charge fees for issuing concealed carry weapons permit, and it was like $100. They said effective July 1st, we're raising the fee to get a concealed carry permit. You want to know how much they raised the fee to?
$200.
How about $1,591?
Oh my goodness.
With 318 of that non-refundable amount being due at the time you simply submit your paperwork, with the balance of $1,280 be due upon when they issue the permit. Now, let's talk about, and by the way, then you have to take tests. You got to take a shooting proficiency test. So $1,591, not counting the course, the cost of the tests. You have to take a shooting test. You got to take a written exam. You got to go to like an 8-hour classroom. It's over $2,000. So if you're a minority, and you're barely scraping by, and but that doesn't include the cost of the gun, by the way.
Mhm.
Um, so do you think you could afford to spend 2 grand to
Oh,
get a?
definitely not. I mean,
Okay,
Pennsylvania is cheap, but I do think the one thing that Pennsylvania does lack is I do think that there should be some sort of proficiency, and there's not. I mean, I literally walk in my sheriff's office, I fill out the form, I pay my $20 or however much it was, and 15 minutes later, after a background check, I can walk out with it. I do think that there should be some level of proficiency, but
proficiency or knowledge, because there's typically two
yeah, a
things. One,
knowledge base or something. Yeah, there should be something.
well, okay, yeah, I agree with the knowledge. In other words, here's when you can and can't use deadly force. And
Yeah.
in terms of proficiency, can you hit a target at 15 yards? I don't think that's been a problem in Pennsylvania, has it? You don't have a lot of people accidentally shooting the wrong people, or missing
No.
people.
I
So I
mean,
don't
even
think,
during hunting season, you might hear one out
right,
of I don't know how many thousands of people go hunting in Pennsylvania every season, but you hear one accidental,
right,
a year.
right. But it's not, and by the way, there are now 26 states that don't require any permit. As long as in 26 states right now, they say if you are legally able under the laws of this state and the federal government to carry a gun, you don't need a piece of paper from us saying that you can do it. And guess what? They've had no problem with, bad shootings with, people shooting each other over parking spots. So yes, Pennsylvania, maybe they should just require you taking. By the way, when I did my hunting license in New Jersey, I took an online course where I had to answer a bunch of questions about, safe gun handling. So yeah, I think, okay, if somebody's going to CCW, make them take a 15-minute online question, course where here's when you can and can't use, your gun to shoot at somebody. Like if you look out the window and they're stealing your boat, can you shoot them? No, you can't shoot them for stealing your boat. So that type of thing. But yeah, I'd be okay. But again, 26 states right now, you can carry a gun without permission as long as you are legally eligible under the federal and state laws. You don't even need the permit. But again, that's outrageous. I'm sure they're going to get sued. by the NRA and the California Rifle and Pistol Association. That'll probably get overturned in a New York minute, but just goes to show you the ridiculous lengths that some states are going and cities are going to prevent people from exercising their Second Amendment rights. All right, so let's talk about a tax on tax. In Illinois, fuel retailers are required to pay a sales tax on the gasoline they sell, but they don't, but it's not assessed at the time you buy the fuel. They have to pay a 6.25% sales tax on all of the gasoline and diesel fuel that they sell. And the way that tax is assessed, the state looks at how much gas you pumped in the first every 6 months, how much gas, and they look at your average price, and they say, okay, based on the amount of gas you sold and the average price for the first 6 months, they multiply that by 6.25%, and that is the sales tax. But the amount they're applying the 6.25% sales tax includes, what the state of Illinois sales tax, fuel tax is?
Just the fuel tax?
Yeah.
3%, I'm gonna guess.
Well, it's 66.4 cents per gallon. It's over half a dollar a gallon.
Wow,
66.
that seems a lot.
Yeah,
So
66.4, and the federal side is 18.4. But when they apply that 6.25 sales tax, they apply it to the total sale price at the pump. Well, the total sale price at the pump includes the 66.4 state tax and the 18.4 federal. So they're applying the 6.25% sales tax. By the way, if you add those two numbers together, 18.4 and 66.4, that's 0.84. That's that's 84 cents a gallon.
yeah.
They're applying a 6.25% sales tax to an
That's
80.
almost 25%. Given a gallon of gas is roughly
Right.
in the $4 range.
Right. So anyway, so if you buy gasoline in Illinois, and it's more for diesel, by the way, that means that you're paying the 66.4 cents times times the 6.25%. You are paying 70.55 cents per gallon in sales tax to the state of Illinois. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's like 25%
Yeah.
roughly.
But can you imagine charging sales tax on the total amount, which already includes your tax?
Yeah,
It's a
that's not
tax
how
on
that's supposed to work.
it's applying a tax on a tax. It's just insane. All right. So let's talk about something called dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing is where a store, based on demand, like if something is selling out, hot item, they can change the price. Now, in the past, they had to go change the shelf label. A couple of big chains like Walmart and Kroger supermarket chain are implementing something called electronic shelf labels that instead of a paper tag on the shelf, they have a little LCD screen that has a button battery in it, and it's Wi-Fi enabled. So the store, typically they're only doing it once a day overnight, but they can literally overnight change the price of every item in the store overnight from a computer in the back office. Or actually, it doesn't have to be in the store. It can be done from the regional office or the home office. So can you imagine the home office say, "Hey, this hot item," or let's say that they've got something on the shelf, but their supplier says, "Hey, starting on Monday, the price of eggs we sell you in bulk is going to go up by 50 cents a dozen." Well, they can change overnight. They can change the price of the eggs they already have in stock by that same 50 cents. It's called dynamic pricing, and it's facilitated by something called electronic shelf labels. And you said you've already seen some of those electronic shelf labels?
Yeah, Kohl's does this. So not just at the ends of the racks, like you said, the shelf racks, but where I noticed it first, and where it's more prominent, is in the shoe department. The individual shoes have the electronic tags on the actual shoe. And that price can, I don't know how often they actually change it, but they have the ability to change it.
Okay. Well, but nobody puts labels on the item anymore. It's all based on the shelf. And now they have a way to
that's
say,
where I noticed it at Kohl's, is because it's actually on the individual shoe. They loop it through the, eyelet hole
but
or
can they
whatever.
change it on the shoe overnight? I mean,
Because like you said, it's a LED
LCD.
LCD electronic tag. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. Kroger, the food chain, which is one of the, I think, the largest supermarket chain in the United
Yeah, as a
States.
matter of fact, Kroger just purchased, this is a Pittsburgh-based chain called Giant Eagle, which is Western Pennsylvania, huge across the western, it was like the grocery store in Western Pennsylvania, and Kroger just purchased Giant Eagle.
Uh-huh.
And if you're from around here, you call it Giant Eagle. But
Okay.
yeah, so that made them with their purchase of Giant Eagle, one of the, I think, the largest grocery stores in the country.
Yeah. Well, Kroger's is rolling it out nationwide. They've already got 500 stores converted. Walmart has already converted 2,300 stores, which
Mhm.
means if you go into Kroger, let's say you go to Walmart today for a pair of sneakers and you look at it, hey, maybe I'll come back and get them tomorrow. You come back tomorrow, the price could be changed.
Mhm.
And it's a little off a little LCD screen. So just if you want to see more, just Google dynamic pricing and or electronic shelf labels. And if this is not something that is coming, it's something that's already here. It's just a matter of time until it gets to a store near you. Because again, we've seen these things where there's been run on something. Imagine toy stores around Christmas where the hot item is
Yeah,
selling out.
that
Toy stores
Elmo
like
doll
what
or
is
those Cabbage
El,
Patch Kids.
yeah, Cabbage Patch Elmo. Trust me, you're going to see it. Remember when we had the egg shortage about
Yeah.
18 months ago?
Hmm.
I guarantee you they're going to start, whenever an item, they'll be able to track, how fast certain items are flying off the shelf. And conversely, by the way, if there are items that are dying and not moving and they want to move it, they got old inventory, it can go the other way. They can discount
Hmm.
those old items literally over, push a button, knock 20% off the price to move old inventory. So it can go both ways.
Yeah. Another thing that's similar, a lot of the sports teams do this. We see this at Penn State. It's called progressive pricing. So all games are not priced equally. The big games are expensive, and the not so big games are not as expensive.
Right. And the airlines have been doing this for years and years.
Yeah,
As flights start to sell out, the closer you get,
the more
if
expensive.
so if it's in with, 5 days or 6 days of a flight and they're down to, 8 or 9 open seats,
Hmm.
trust me, you're going to pay a premium for those 8 or 9 open seats. A person who bought a seat a month ago might have paid 220 bucks for the ticket. And if that flight is selling out and it's 4 or 5 days, instead of 220, you might pay 420. You or more than double. You can pay more, you can pay triple, depending on how close that flight is to getting sold out.
But and on the, conversely, if there's a flight that's empty, they're gonna put it on sale and hopefully
Yep.
fill that flight.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a long time, but now it's coming.
Mhm.
But so, airlines have been using dynamic pricing for years, but it's coming to retail centers near you. Anyway, how much time we got?
You have about 12 minutes.
All right. This comes from Arizona. Uh, and this I'm going to play a clip, but apparently I think their 18-month-old child was found, face down a pool. They called the EMS and they took him to the hospital. Doctor declared the child dead. And the parents, and they said, well, where is he? And they said, well, he's down in the morgue. So the parents went down the morgue to say goodbye, and they noticed the child was breathing. And the morgue, no, that's not, no, corpses will do that. No, that he's breathing. Well, the baby was alive, even though the doctor told him he was dead. We're going to play this clip. Here we go.
Underway after an Arizona toddler was declared dead, then found alive in the hospital morgue. Police records show a doctor pronounced the 18-month-old dead after he was pulled unresponsive from a pool. But police report says hours later, the child was found in the hospital morgue breathing. And now questions are growing about why the doctor pronounced him dead, despite alleged warnings that there were signs of life. Andrew Dimbert's here with more on that story. Andrew, such a sad and bizarre story. Walk us through this.
Bizarre, strange, kind of unexplainable here, but the good news is that this child is alive. Diane, this was a stunning series of events that began with a near drowning and ended, like you said, with an unthinkable discovery inside a hospital morgue. Police say an 18-month-old baby boy was found face down in a backyard pool during a Super Bowl gathering in Gilbert, Arizona back in February. First responders performed CPR and rushed the child to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. But according to a newly released police report, some officers and even hospital staff believe the toddler was still showing signs of life, reporting that he appeared to be gasping for air, for example. Nearly 5 hours later, staff at the medical examiner's office discovered the child was breathing inside the hospital morgue. The boy was immediately airlifted to a children's hospital where he survived. And of course, now the incident is under review, with growing questions surrounding how this toddler was declared dead in the first place, especially since there seem to be many people on the hospital staff and some of the officers saying this child is showing signs of life.
A lot of questions there.
You think that doctor's going to keep his license?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
And of course, the parents, I'm sure, are going to sue. And as they should, by the way. That guy should not be practicing medicine. All right, what else do I have to go here? All right. So you don't know anybody that's a flat Earth believer, do you?
I do not. No, I only hang out with intelligent people.
All right. You're familiar with Columbia Sportswear, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of Columbia sportswear.
All right. Well, Columbia Sportswear has offered to give everything the company owns, all their assets, stores, money in the bank, inventory, to anybody who can prove that the Earth is flat, and all they need to go out is take a picture of the edge of the Earth. So, so if you ever encounter somebody who's a flat earther, you say, look, you can become a multi-millionaire.
I would say the Columbia Sportswear Company is very multi-million.
Yeah, and they've offered to give every asset the company owns to anybody who can prove the Earth is flat. So, so that's your little. So anyway, so that's your news of the day. Columbia says it's going to put your money where your mouth is. We don't believe you, and if you can prove it, you can own the company. So yeah, you would become the owner of Columbia Sportswear. All right. Here's an interesting one. You know any pilots?
You're a pilot, Jerzee Joe, aren't you?
I am. You know any others?
Yeah, actually, I do know a few others.
How many in total?
Oh, maybe a dozen.
All right, all right. What percentage, if we take out, people under 18 and people over, 80, what percentage of the adult population, what percentage of adult do you think are pilots?
I don't think it's too high, but I know a lot of hobbyists out there. I'm going to say 5%.
How about 0.2%, which is
Wow.
basically 1 in 400 adults?
Wow. I mean, it's certainly an expensive hobby, but I do know some not wealthy people who are pilots,
Yep. And by the way, and that doesn't include student pilot. And by the way, I've got some friends. All they want to know, they got a student, and they went and they said all I want to do is be able to say that I can land an airplane. So they went and they took 4, 5, 6 lessons. And one day the instructor says, okay, you're going to solo today, and take it up and take it around and give me 2 landings. So they took it up. They took off by themselves, circled the airport, came back, landed once, took off again, landed twice. And they can say, yes, I can fly an airplane. Some people, that's all they wanted to do. They didn't want to go through the whole thing and become cross country. But anyway, if you want to become a pilot or just learn to take off, you can in a couple of weekends, because you typically solo after your 4th or 5th lesson. So, if you go up every Saturday morning for an hour with an instructor, and with the instructor, you're talking about $150 an hour. So $150 an hour times 6, what does that come to? It's $900.
somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah. So for $900, you can say, I'm a pilot. I can fly a plane. If you want to go all the way and do the 40 hours in cross country and navigation and pass the tests, you're probably talking closer to $4,000 to $5,000. But if you just want to learn to fly a plane, and by the way, mechanically flying a plane is not that difficult. The controls are really simple. I don't know if you've ever sat behind the controls of an airplane, but yeah, it's not that tough to turn and bank and climb and descend. Not that tough at all. So again, if you just want to learn to land and take off and land and say you've flown an airplane, it'll take you, 4 to 6 weekends and probably $900, and you can say, yep, I'm a pilot. I can fly a plane. All right. Going to move on to the price of college tuition. So in the past 25 years, and this is including inflation, by the way, over the past 5 years, inflation has been 92%, cumulative inflation, 92%. And surprisingly enough, things like TVs have actually come down in
Yeah.
price. By the way, and here's one: when I was in my 30s, a 27-inch cathode ray TV was a week's worth of pay. Today, a 65-inch flat screen is a day's worth of pay.
Yeah.
All right. So the price of TV has come down. Um, Cell phone services have come down. Cell phone services are cheaper than they've ever been.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, even new cars today are cheaper than new cars are only up in the past 25 years. The price of a new car has only increased 25%, even though overall inflation is 92%. And clothing, by the way, is still relatively flat over 25 years. Now, you want to guess how much the cost of hospital services has increased?
Oh, quadrupled.
280%. It's almost
Yeah.
tripled. And college tuition,
Hmm.
196.7%. Now, what does hospital services and college tuition have in common?
I don't know. That's a good question. They're both
Government
service
subsidy,
providers.
government subsidies,
Oh,
Obamacare, Affordable Care Act,
yeah.
and of course, unlimited government guaranteed student loans. You know, the law of supply and demand, the greater when the supply exceeds demand, you raise price.
Hmm.
And there are more colleges today than there were 25 years ago, and the number of college seats has expanded dramatically because
Hmm.
everybody, I think the percentage of high school graduates going on to college went from like 54% to 76%. And we all know that the number of kids going to college they're going to third-rate schools nobody ever heard of, paying outrageous amounts of money for degrees that have zero market value. Well, when the demand for for the seat in your college exceeds the supply, I mean, let's say, what's the typical incoming class of Penn State? How many students?
Honestly, Penn State being a very large school, your gen eds might be pretty large lecture halls, but when you get into your like major specific classes, you're really only talking 20 to 30, not more than 20 to 30 and even smaller for your labs.
Right, but the point is, what percentage? Let me put it this way: what percentage of the applicants do you think they accept, and what percentage do they reject? Any idea?
Our acceptance, oh, gosh, I actually don't know what our acceptance rate is. I mean, it's uh that's a good question.
Well,
That's
I'll tell you, for some of the better known schools, the
it's actually 50%.
okay, so they reject one out of two applications. So
Yeah.
when you've got twice as many people applying than you do have seats for, you're going to raise the price, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what's happened. The two that are just the two outliers that are up again, hospital services 280%, college tuition 100, call it 200%, 196%. And the thing they have in common, by the way, college textbooks the same thing. They're up 176%. Do you think it costs 176% more to produce a book now than it did 25 years ago?
No, well, I'll tell you, all the books now are digital. So,
Okay. Well, but here's my point. When the government begins to subsidize things, Ronald Reagan said, if you want less of something, tax it. If you want more of something, subsidize it.
yeah.
And that's what happened. Hospital service and college tuition those costs have increased at more than double the rate of inflation. Why things like cars,
Mhm.
uh, computer software, cell phone service, clothing, and TVs have actually come down dramatically
Mhm.
as cell phone service.
I mean, we have stressed on this show numerous times about the value of a trade school and the
Yes.
importance and value and how you can
Yep.
make some good six-figure salaries from
Yep. Right out of
a
trade school.
skilled
Yep.
skilled trade.
Yes. So again, given a trade between spending 100,000 to get a degree in general and gender studies from a college nobody ever heard of, versus becoming a diesel engine mechanic, go for the diesel engine mechanic. You'll graduate virtually debt free, and you'll be knocking down six figures in your first year. All right. Going to move on to our taxpayer relief shot.
Yep.
Anything you want to add before we do that?
Nope.
All right. We're going to. Did I just lose my taxpayer relief shot? Hang on. I've got it here somewhere. Here we go. From Los Angeles, a shopkeeper, I think it was a dispensary, if I'm not mistaken. And as he's coming out locking up, he's confronted by three armed thugs who want to rob him because they know dispensaries are all cash businesses, right?
Uh, Yeah, they are because the
Yeah.
federal government doesn't recognize them.
Yeah, dispensaries are prime targets because banks, if banks are under federal law, marijuana is still legal, so they can't do credit. The credit card companies won't let you put cannabis on
Mhm.
your credit card, and the banks won't accept your deposits if you're a marijuana business. You can't open a checking account for your business. So dispensaries are 100% cash business. And here's what happened in LA.
With some robbers last night, and now two of them are dead.
And police are trying to figure out exactly what happened. The car audio store is on Rosecrans. CBS 2's Cara Finstrom is there live, and Cara, neighbors have had concerns about that store, haven't they?
Yeah, they say there has been trouble here before, but we need to stress it's not clear that had anything to do with the shootings last night. Behind us here, you can see investigators still out here. They tell us at this point, it appears that store owner was protecting his shop.
What I heard was the pow, 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 like 8 gunshots sound like firecrackers.
Officers rushed out to this car audio and alarm store last night when they got phone call.
I beg you, I'm confused this with a different one. This was a car audio store, not a cannabis store. My apologies.
Reporting gunfire. Neighbors say they then heard police ordering someone out of the shop.
Come out with your hands up. And that's the last that I heard. And I went back in because I'm real nervous.
Now, big questions about what led to a gun battle inside that ended with 2 men shot and killed and another in the hospital. Downey PD investigators say it appears the 3 men shot tried to rob the store and got into a gunfight with the owner.
And it was just about, gunshots back and forth, back and forth.
Police say the owner was not hurt. Public records show he is George Valencia, and one of the 4 cars seized this morning is registered to him. Neighbors raised concerns to us about Valencia and the shop.
So 3-on-1, 3-on-1, and two of the thugs are dead. The third one winds up wounded in the hospital. The store owner's unscathed. So if you're going to own a gun, practice, because if owning it and not knowing how or not being proficient in its use, you're probably going to get yourself killed. So,
which is why I do think Pennsylvania should have some sort of proficiency at some level with their relatively cheap permits.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt. But again, folks, if you own a gun or you're thinking about getting a gun, if you're not prepared to invest the time and money to practice with it regularly, I'm going to say I would like to say once a month, but at 3 or 4 times a year at least. Stay proficient. Make sure your gun. You got to. If you don't use your gun for a year and you don't oil it, it may malfunction if it's a semi-automatic. So if you're going to own a gun for self-protection, you owe it to yourself and your family to know how to use the gun. And with that, producer Susan, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Nope. Stay cool. It's brutal out there today and tomorrow.
We're going to have your weather here tomorrow. All right, you take care, and I will talk to you next week. You take care.
All right, Jerzee Joe.